Morning, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, my friend, I'm great. How are you?
I'm excellent. This is Brian Jones. I'm here with Chris Hood, professional options trader, world's most interesting man. How are you?
And actually, whenever you say that, man, I get this little shiver down my back and I go, you need to get out more. Like that's the general response is you've got to get out more. You need more friends. If I'm interesting, then, my wife tells me I'm not interesting at all. It's trading, jiu-jitsu, or karate. It's like those are the only three things I can talk about.
Well, I like jiu-jitsu and trading, and I like karate too. So there you go.
You have to say that, man. You have
Yeah,
to say that.
it's good stuff.
Well, not the karate bullshit. I don't want to do the karate BS. It's the stuff that works, right? The
Right.
hardcore stuff.
Well, that's the thing is like these styles that sometimes people put down because they're sort of over commercialized, and they actually work if you train them the right way. I mean,
look, any training against an unskilled person is going to work. Like,
right.
It's the problem is, and I think Matt Thornton talked about this a lot. It's how you train that makes the difference.
Exactly.
If you're just punching air,
you can make most things work if you spar full speed because you understand that you can make crazy techniques work if you use them live.
Do you remember Charles Bennett? Do you remember Charles Bennett from those early Pride days? Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
He could make anything work. It's like it didn't matter. I mean, if you think about it in the context of fighting, as soon as you put the emotional intensity of someone trying to rip your head off, all form goes out the window. And all punches start to look the same. So it doesn't matter whether you learned it in Wing Chun or Kung Fu or whatever, it's still going to look like a punch. There's only one way to punch. So everything sort of goes down to that single thing.
There's variations on the theme, but pretty much it's mostly a straight line or a loop, and you try to hit them in the chin, nose, throat, whatever.
If you kick a guy in the nuts, it doesn't matter if you did it from Kung Fu, karate, or whatever. A kick in the nuts looks like a kick in the nuts.
Universal. It's a universal language of violence.
I've been watching that karate combat thing on TV on the internet. Where they have these different stylistic matchups in karate, and that's pretty interesting to watch. I mean, it doesn't look half as entertaining as watching the UFC, which the UFC, unfortunately, this weekend was a hellishly boring set of fights. I mean, I was expecting a lot more, but when you start watching a karate combat, you actually appreciate the stylistic differences between the matchup. Between a style that's got maybe wider stances against a style with narrow stances. It's actually quite entertaining.
Well, it's one of those things like trading. There's all these different styles and a lot of work. You just have to practice your style and make it work against.
Absolutely. I find that's the best thing that I've heard today so far. And I've only been up a couple hours. Other than us trying to work out Brazilian nicknames for our jiu-jitsu bodies. But it's true. There are many ways to skin the cat in trading. And sometimes they're people, I see them all the time in these trading groups or whatever. There'll always be someone who assumes they know more than everyone else. And they will find a hill that they want to die on. And that's it. This is the only strategy that works. If you ever hear people saying that, just shut your ears, walk away. Guy doesn't know what he's talking about. The only strategy that works is the one that works for you. That's it. I mean, you can trade. If someone says, the only way to trade is on the 1 minute chart, scalping futures or whatever, I know many people that couldn't make that work even if someone was helping them. It's just your personality starts to come out when you trade. And you have to find the system or the tools that will work with you as opposed to you for your tools. That's the big thing. And I see it all the time when you see these monkeys advertising on Instagram or whatever, look how rich I am, look how rich I am. It's all fake anyway. But, they're trying to say that there's this holy grail that if you bought their tools tomorrow, you would suddenly be rich. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. You have to work out what works for you. And there's many ways to make it work. What works for me might not work for 25 other people, but it might work for someone. And that's the tough part in trading, is trying to find the thing that works for you, the setup that works consistently for you. Most people don't even journal. They don't even write down what they're doing. So they can't remember what works for them. They just assume. And that's what gets people into trouble. So you're right. Once you get to the end, it all looks the same. It's called profitability. How you got it doesn't matter if you've got a you know, a glitter sash from some kung fu guy, or you've got a white belt from another guy. You know, at the end of the day, they look at whether you knocked out the opponent or won.
Right. Exactly. It's either a W or a L in the category. Like,
Yeah.
outcome. And
absolutely, man. Absolutely. This game is so complex as it is. The last thing you need is some half-wit telling you that what they do is the only thing. Like that just annoys me. You know, when I see how many people get suckered into these massive Discord groups of 25,000 people, and you don't know who these people are, and they're just throwing stuff at you. And, you know, if you're unsure of yourself and you don't know the strategy that you're going to follow, and suddenly some guy says somewhere in the world he's going to do a trade on, you know, ABC Corporation or whatever it is, and you go follow him and you lose, the only person to blame is you, no one else. You know, you didn't have a process by which you could filter things, and big problem. It's a big problem, actually. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of getting information from sources that I've vetted. I don't know. I've done enough things in my life that I realize that most people, and no one knows everything, and most people don't know much. So everybody knows something, right? So like you just run around trying to get a little bit of wisdom from every person that you meet. But like if you go all in and you think this person has all the answers, you're usually in a cult or something.
Oh yeah, there are many trade cults out there as well. The thing is this: most people lack a degree of self-awareness when they get into trading. All right, a lot of people start off thinking that trading is about capital, you know, and it's not. You can still be successful without a lot of capital. Trading is 95% emotional control. So most people don't do that. Most of them think it's a system of triggers and indicators or whatever it is. Those are helpful. You don't need them to be successful, but they're helpful. They speed your decisioning up, but they shouldn't be things that you rely on to the point of losing common sense. Like there has to be a degree of common sense. So once you get into trading, most people are constantly looking for indicators, new indicators, because they think erroneously there's a holy grail. They think that there's a specific indicator out there that's going to change the world for them. Now, I mean, I've got indicators that are available for subscription, but I'm the first person to admit they only work if you let them work for you, right? They cannot work against you. They mustn't be used against yourself. So if you haven't got emotional control, if you're a greedy guy that's trying to hit the ball out of the park, doesn't matter how good my indicators are, because you're going to mess it up anyway. So, you know, you don't have a system, you don't have a process. And that's what I try and teach more is a process to trading that will make you successful, not a trigger, not a trigger. You know, when I have people come to me and say, oh, you know, I've been using this trigger and I've been pretty successful. Usually they have outperformed the actual historical performance of that specific trigger, you know, and then I'll say to them, you know, that trigger is only X% successful, you know, over the last 20 years. And they go, yeah, but I'm making more than that. And I go, that's because you've managed to master something outside of the trigger that's making it work for you. Now all of a sudden things start to click. It's not about the trigger, it's actually about the trader.
Or they immediately start losing. And you're like,
oh, yeah, immediately
that trigger, that signal doesn't work. And you're like, it's kind of like the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner. He's
just drove by steamroller right through it.
He doesn't live down.
It's like it's a very interesting thing to watch, because psychologically, if you approach trading in a sort of no lose type mindset, you can't afford to lose. You'll lose everything, because you can't, the situation that you're aiming for is about not losing. So as soon as you focus on not losing, losing is what you're going to land up doing. Your brain is a very interesting thing. That's what you start focusing on. So if your confidence is low, you always trade to your level of self-belief. If you believe you're crap at this, I promise you'll be crap. Doesn't matter how good your indicators are, you'll be crap, because you'll start making the same mistakes over and over again. So, you know, one of the things that I try and encourage people to do is journal every single trade that you do. Why did you do it? What was your expectation? How did you know that the trade was going to work? Like, you always have to do that. Most people go, but you don't know that the trade's going to work. You go, yes, you do. You always should know up front what the historical probability of winning is. And then once your probabilities start to drop below a certain threshold, you don't throw more money at the trade just because it looks cheap. If your probabilities have dropped from the origin, from when you started the trade, that trade is done. That trade is done. Don't play with that trade anymore. Either exit the trade, get out, move on to something else. And knowing when something's broken, that's 90% of your skill, knowing when it's not going to work. So you don't hold on to some sort of, dog position longer than you should and lose more than you should. So being able to establish that's really important, really important.
Right. Yeah. The cutting your losses is one of those things that it took me a minute to get a handle on, but I think I don't like losing money.
I don't think anyone.
I've been cutting like my losses way earlier. Like than
the thing with losses, they're inevitable. How you bounce from them is important. On Friday, or when was it? Thursday, I had a trade on that wiped out my whole week's profit in one trade. Gone. Now I could have sat back and said, okay, I can't trade anymore because I took a big loss. Or I just carry on. I take the loss and I move on. I don't harp on it. It happened. I move on. 2 trades later, same day, I made back all of what I'd lost and more. If I hadn't done that, I would have gone into the next day with 0 profits, 1 day to go in the week. And mentally, you have to continue to do it. You can't, when you fall off a bike, you get back on. You might not ride as fast. You might not aim for the downhills. You try and keep it on the straight and controllable. Same thing with trading. Same thing with trading. You lose, size down, carry on trading. Just carry on trading. Commit to be more diligent on what was not working or what was evidence and you didn't see it. That's the important thing about journaling, is understanding what you didn't see.
Right.
Go back. When did that trade break? Why didn't I see it? Was I so fixated on the outcome that I forgot the process? Maybe, I don't know. But
is there ever a time you would recommend, and I've heard a couple of people talk about this, like I've just interviews with different traders about how if they take, and this is their own personal system, is like, if I take 7 or 10 big losses in a row, or 7 to 10 like losses, that I'm just gonna shut my computer and take the day off and then come back with a clearer head.
I think if your average trade numbers, let's say you do 10 trades a day, and you lose 5 in a row, stop. I do, when I trade on my own and not with clients, I can do maybe 30 to 40 trades in a day. So for me, it would have to be 25 losses in a row. I've never had that. In 20 years, I've never had it. Most losses I've probably taken in a row would be 7 to 10. But when I lose small. I'll take a 2% loss, 3% loss, 4% loss. Those are small numbers.
Your position is very small.
And I size my positions in a way that even if I lost 100%, wouldn't hurt. And then as the trade starts to improve, as the trade starts to work, let me show you an example. I put this on my Instagram this weekend for my subscribers, that they learn from this. Let me pull it up. It's sort of like this scenario, right? So here, this is a common setting that we have on using our tools and signals, but you can see here, we've been trading in this narrow range for some time, right? This area here, from there, trade, break, we came up, trade again, break, and then we were chopping. If you look very closely, there's these 3 black dots, right? The 3 black dots in my tools, they tell us, look, you know what? A trade's going to happen, right? It's starting to compress. Then we had the inside price band start to change color. Here, this green cloud. So we went from gray to green. Now, the chop that we see here, this chop, normal. In this kind of market, that's normal. So aggressive traders would have been building their trade, coming through. Now we start seeing this trend line. You see that trend line starting to appear there. And as soon as we got to the bottom here, you see the black dots start to reappear. Red triangle shows that the squeeze is now fired to the upside. We break the trend line. This is a very common trigger, right? Very common trigger. Break the trend line. We had a long signal. We know that signal has a 38% win rate. So we know, don't oversize. So this might have been 1 contract, 2 contract, 3 contract. We might be on our 4th contract here. So 4 contracts we've averaged in. Then we get the move. We knew this level was going to play because it's been playing for 2 weeks. This is the level. So when you start building a trade, the problem is a lot of people take one trigger here and they overload the trade, right? Goes up, they make a bit of money, they go, you know what, I'm going to hang on a little bit, I think I can make some more. It falls back, and this is where they lose, because now they're kicked out of the trade. This is their stop loss, because as you move up, you increase your stop loss, triggers the stop loss, you now lose on the trade. Now, if you've gone one contract here, one contract here, one contract here, you've averaged into the trade as the system and as your process saw an improvement in the signal for the trade. You didn't binary bet at the beginning and then hope for the best. It was a structured plan. So, you know, this is the thing about tools and indicators, is that, you know, people often say you cannot predict price. I think that's wrong. I think you can, to a degree. You know, I can't give you a time, but I can certainly give you a destination. I know it's going to get there. I just don't know when it's going to get there. So you have to position yourself for the destination, but the duration, you know, it might be on a donkey, you know, instead of a Ferrari. There's a big difference, right? It could have made this move to 380 from here. It could have come from here. It could have come from any one of these things. The problem is that if you get your triggers too late, so if you're getting in too late and you're only getting in there, you're going to get maybe 40% of the move, 20% of the move. So this is where planning and journaling and all of that starts to come in, right? So if someone takes a big loss, got in here, got kicked out there, what's more disappointing mentally is when you look back, once we get there and you go, damn, why did I exit here? Was it my stop loss that killed me? Did I not see the green volatility band? Did I not see the early warning triggers? That's more of a thing of, okay, shut down the computer, walk away, go back, refine your rules, and then come back in. But if your rules are right, and you took a small loss there, so you took a small loss, you got in, took a small loss, and you got back in, now your rules have actually kept you safe. You know, your timing was a bit off, but your destination was correct.
So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, there's a lot of people are taking a lot of big losses right now because of the market, you know, being down, then rallying, then dropping, and all this other stuff. Is there any kind of, what advice in general would you give somebody
if they've lost,
that's newer, you know, to like kind of alleviate their panic on the whole market situation? Panic.
You know, it's difficult because a lot of traders have never traded in volatile markets. You know, volatility is a double-sided coin, right? And there's positive volatility and negative volatility. As an options trader, I don't really care. I want volatility. I don't want stability. If someone's taken a big loss, I consider it school fees. I mean, let's be clear. I've made big losses before in my life. So, you know, I'm not sitting here preaching from a box of, you know, I'm better than everyone else. Everyone has losses. 99% of the world at the moment took losses between November and June. So, you know, there's no surprise there. But you've got to see losses for what they are. I believe in positive trading, number one. I always believe that I'm only a few trades away from the account changing trade. That's the way I trade. I know that if I'm consistent with my rules, those good trades will come. They come. Now, if I am ignorant to the market and trading the wrong way than the market, then I deserve to lose. All right. So you've always got to go back and have a look at what caused the loss in the first place. Was it greed? Was it arrogance? You know, in my case, is right at the beginning, it was just complete stupidity. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So, you know, you read in a book that this setup works 100% of the time, and then you copy it and it doesn't. You know, it's like, was the author lying, or, you know, am I just a fool? Paper trade. Okay, that's the one thing that you want to do, is get your confidence back, start to paper trade. You know, remember, you're in the same boat as everyone else. You know, you know, if you took a big loss, you're not the only one. But you got to trade positively. Don't trade with the mindset of, I must make it back. If you do that, you're just going to lose more. What you have to do is build your process so that you can make small accumulations of wins. That's the most important thing right now, is just get on the wagon and win. Even if it's $100, doesn't matter. $100, $200, that $100 becomes another trade that you make another 200 on. You've just got to keep going. You can't, I would never quit. Trading for me is not something, quitting is not an option, right? But resizing, resetting your strategy, all of those things are possibilities. And if anyone's taken big losses, send me a comment and I can help you specifically. Like, it's a mental game. This is all about a mental game. You don't see a professional athlete lose a tournament and then quit the sport because he lost once. They go back, they revisit, they check, maybe they've got to hit the ball a little differently. That's what you've got to be open to. So, remember, your P&L is a reflection of your process. That's what it is. If your process is sitting in a Discord server, taking tips from other people, I'm not surprised. It doesn't surprise me when someone says they lost doing that. Not many people win doing that. So yeah, just go back, look at the process, fix the process, and then start again. Go small. Even if you win $50, even if you win $30, it doesn't matter. It's a win. And you build on that mentality. You build on the idea of winning. And that's how you get your confidence back. And in time, things will come right.
Awesome, Chris. Well, I am going to have to wrap up today, but I think that was some solid info, and let's do this again on Tuesday.
Awesome. I look forward to it, man. Take care, everyone. See you all soon.
All right. Take care.
Have a good one, brother.
See ya.
Cheers, man.